Welcome, families. Thank you so much for joining our first Zoom session today. We'll give people just a minute to log on. And then we'll get started. Great, it's exactly 11, so let's go ahead and get started. Thank you everybody for joining us today for our first family Zoom session. So appreciate your time. We know it's the middle of the workday here in the US. It's the middle of the night in Asia, so thank you. And of course, it's evening in Europe, and we're all coming from all over, so the time and the effort really means a lot to us. Thank you so much. I am Felicia Hunt. I am the Assistant Vice President in charge of student and family engagement, which is a real privilege to get to do this work here at Caltech. I hope I get to meet many of you in person over the course of the year. I have had the chance to meet some of you during Disco Tech and really appreciate and enjoy the chance to do first year family work, especially because it's a big transition for all of us. I don't do this work alone. I have the privilege of working with an incredible team of 11 other professionals and 4 faculty members and 23 resident associates. And I have some of our team here today, and I wanted to make sure that you had the chance to meet them. Isabel Peng is one of our directors here, and she's going to be talking about her work with first year students. And Sabrina Rios and Lupe Romero are our program coordinators. You will see them throughout the year. They work on all kinds of programs with you and with your student, and they're really part of the effort here in this Office of Student and Family Engagement to make sure that we're meeting your students' needs, but also yours. That's really important to us. So let me walk you through a little bit about what we're going to do today. We've got an agenda. It's not a small one. First, of course, is the welcome. You're now part of the Caltech community and an important part, and you're part of our team. So we're happy that we're going to have the chance to connect with you. I want to talk a little bit about family programs and our approach here at Caltech and give you a sense of what's coming this summer, what's coming this year. And then I want to hit some common topics and concerns that parents have that we've heard over the years, things that may be on your mind. We want to help address those early so that you have understanding and information. I think being kind to parents is when we're clear with parents. So I want to give you everything up front that we can to help this transition go smoothly. I want to talk a little bit about how we stay connected during the year, both at the institutional level and at the office level, and then give you a chance to ask some questions. So we have a big agenda. We'll move through this together. I think a couple things to know. One is that in the chat, we'll be monitoring it. If you have a question that's about something related to the community or one of these topics, please feel free to add it to the chat. We'll be sending other links for you. But keep in mind, if you have an individual student question, it's best if it comes to me. I want to protect your students' privacy and yours, and I'm happy to jump on a call or a Zoom or answer by email, whatever I can do to support you. But feel free to always keep those lines of communication open with your individual students, and we'll have community conversations and questions answered here today. So with that big agenda, let's go ahead and get started. The most important thing we want you to know is that we want to get to know your student and we want to get to know you. This is a really important time for everybody. Transitions are happening for all of us, and family engagement is really important to me. It's also important to Caltech, and that's why we started a family engagement program. This is our second year. We're about to enter with our third class of working with families and students. We do that work independent of each other. There are 2 different communities with 2 different needs. And that's why we have Isabel here, who's talking about what her work looks like with direct student contact. And of course, my work with families. And then there's an intersection, of course, at the arrival and at family weekend. And we want to make sure that you have all the information about that. So why is family engagement important to Caltech and to this team? Well, the truth is that students do not come to college alone. They come with important connections to you and important connections that they need to make to us. We need to make sure they know they can rely on all of us, that they can get support from all of us, and be on the same page about what's happening for them. My goal is to make sure that at the beginning of each term, you're familiar with what happens that term. And I think it's important that we work together. I think it's much better when students feel like their parents are part of this big community because they really feel connected to you and they want you connected to us too. So I love that we do this. The first year we tried all kinds of new programs. Last year we built a family orientation program. You're our third class of parents and we're looking forward to kind of refining the work that we do. I will tell you personally that I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you and that this is going to be my favorite class. I too am sending a student to college this fall, so I will be thinking about you as I shape these programs because I'm also thinking about me as I shape these programs, and we'll be in this together. If you've already sent a student to college, well, I'll be looking for your advice. This is my first student moving on. And so I will be making sure that I'm as thoughtful with your family as I want people to be with my family. And we will do this together. So congratulations to all of us, the class of 2030. Here we come. So with that said, let me tell you a little bit about the programs that we have, because I want to give you a sense of what you can expect from us going forward. First, I want you to know that there will be communications. You will hear from Caltech, you will hear from me, and you will hear from our office. You will also hear, you'll get the magazine, you'll get a weekly update from the Institute, and there will be lots of communications coming your way, so be ready for those. They're usually very helpful and very interesting, and they will invite you to programs like this, so be on the lookout for those. We really concentrate a number of our programs on first-year families. One, because that's the biggest year really for transition for students and for families. And also because we believe that you're going to have a better orientation and connection to our community if you're connected to each other. So we really try to build programs where you can meet other families, meet the families of your students' friends, and feel like you have your own support network. Other things that we do, we have a Zoom session with families at the beginning of each term, because I want to give you a sense of what you can expect from that term. So this is our summer term. So I wanted to make sure that you had a sense of what the summer looks like and what our family programs look like. So we will have one again in the fall. We will have one in the winter in January in advance of family weekend, and then one in the spring where we talk a lot about what to prepare for in the summer. We have a family orientation on September 19th. I think that sounds like a bigger program than it is. It's really an opportunity for us to meet you and to attend a reception like the one on the slide, and for you to hear a little bit from the different administrators on campus. First year family weekend is in January, and that's put on by our office. And then in general, just the sense that you can reach out to our office and get support from us just like your student can. And that's a commitment that I make to families, because I also want to be able to reach out and call my daughter's institution and ask questions. And I want you to be able to call me with those. There are some questions I just can't answer, but I can always take the call, and I want you to feel like you can reach out. So that's kind of our philosophical approach to family programs and the real commitment that we make to you. So let me walk you through a little bit about our family orientation, because that's one that I want to put on the radar for you. When you arrive, I want you to know that you will have support. This is a day that many families attend, not all families. So if this is a day that you will not be moving in your student or you will not be on campus, I don't want you to worry. We'll talk about how we welcome students on campus, and it will be fine. But for those of you that are coming, I want you to have a visual that when you get here, you will have support. So what does it look like to arrive? Well, there'll be parking. It'll be free. There's going to be signs. Everybody that you can ask for help from will be in a shirt so you can recognize them. We will have students here prepared to move in your student, and we will have carts to make that happen. You can pull up your car. We will help you unload, put things in the cart and get them to your student's room and help make that possible so that we really want this to be a celebratory, but also a seamless day for you. I don't want this to be any more stressful for any of us than I think it needs to be. We will give you the chance to meet the community. So there'll be a welcome center where there'll be opportunities to see offices. There'll be some offices open on that Saturday so that you can ask questions. There's a lot of questions that come up for the registrar or financial aid. They'll be available to you. We want you to have the chance to meet the community. We want you to see the class organized because they're forming now. They will have met in different ways on sessions ahead of time or through Zoom or through Discord, but this is their first time to be gathering together, and we want you to get to see that. And from that point, we will take the students and begin their orientation separate from your orientation, where we will all go into a session to talk with others at the Institute about what to expect the first year and what happens if something goes wrong. If your student gets sick, if your student struggles on a midterm or with a problem set, things to prepare for. And then, of course, if we survive all of this transition together, we have a reception for all of us, and we can all use a snack and a glass of wine or beverage and spend some time getting to know each other. So that's the September 19th plan for families. We try to have it as integrated in the beginning as we have separate at the end so that we can help you form as a group and we can help your students start to bond as a class. That's really important to us. So our team will also be dividing up. Isabel will take your student and I will take you, and we will begin spending the afternoon and the evening together. So plan for that if you are able to be in town. If you're not able to be in town, I will walk through how we welcome students, and I don't want you to worry about that. We're going to make sure that everything goes great for your student. So that's a little bit about family orientation. That's our first big chance to meet each other in person. So that will come up very soon. Let me walk you through our next slide where we talk about the first year. So the first year is such an important time. It's the first time for many students that they have lived away from home. They have lived with peers. They have had to set their own schedule and manage their own lives, both health, wellness, social, academic. And we know that it's new for them. And we want to make sure that we support them across this experience. Because when we have a really successful transition, we have a really successful experience. So we have a director who helps manage the entire process, and she does a wonderful job. She's met with your students, and I'd like to introduce her to you today. Isabel Pang is our Director of New Student Orientation Programs and First Year Experience.
Great. Thank you so much, Felicia. Hi, everyone. My name is Isabel Pang. I work with Felicia. I work with Lupe and Sabrina. We are all under the Office of Student and Family Engagement. I may have met some of you at our Zoom session for new students earlier last week, but for those who I'm meeting for the first time, it's really great to be here. I look forward to working with you and meeting you, hopefully in the fall and into the year as well. So I will be a key point of contact for students as they navigate their transition to the Institute. My role really focuses on helping students successfully transition to Caltech and creating opportunities for all of your students to feel supported, connected, engaged throughout their first year. And this support starts in the summer. So we oversee a lot of resources, a lot of communication that helps students prepare for their arrival on campus. I also oversee undergraduate orientation in the fall. So here at Caltech, orientation for new students is a week-long process, and the week is designed to help students feel welcome, introduce them to the Caltech community, as well as provide your students with the tools and information that they need to begin their journey successfully. One of the first resources I want to highlight is our new undergraduate student handbook, and I'm just going to link that in the chat right now. This handbook has been shared through my email updates, and it's also available online as a comprehensive guide to what the first year experience, what life at Caltech really entails. So it includes a lot of important information about the first year campus resources, student services, academic support, and just practical information for preparing for arrival. One of the pieces that we've included on there is a packing list, and that packing list is actually curated by our own students who have gone through the first year themselves, who live in our housing, who know what to bring, what not to bring, what's needed, what's not so much needed. And so I really do encourage your student, as well as all of you, to take a look at this resource. For families, it's also a really great resource to better understand the many support systems that are available to your student. So in addition to a move-in packing list, there's also important information about how to send mail and packages to campus, what the important billing and tuition dates are, what is rotation, what that process entails, and a lot of other essential information. So we have been telling our students to review the handbook in its entirety before they arrive on campus. And as families, we do appreciate it if you could also spread the word and encourage your student to also review the handbook. It will be available online as a PDF throughout the academic year. So if it's something that you want to reference down the road, that will always be available online too. So also throughout the summer, I will continue sending regular communication that highlight important deadlines, action items, upcoming opportunities for incoming students, etc. All of our student communication will be archived on our orientation website. We will also post a family-specific communication on the website as well, so all of you can continue to stay informed and understand how best to support your student throughout the transition. We know there's a lot of summer travel and inboxes get flooded, so if you happen to miss an email, please don't worry about that. You can always find all of our email updates on the website. We do encourage our students to start forming a habit of checking their Caltech email addresses. That could also be a nice reminder for our family members to relay that over to your student, just because as the academic year starts, we do have a lot of important information that is sent to the Caltech email. And so we want to make sure that students are forming that habit early on in the summer so that it's an easy transition with important deadlines. So that is just a quick overview. We do share a lot more information at the first info session I mentioned yesterday or earlier last week. So if you have a moment and want to learn more about the specifics, I do encourage you to view our recording of last week's info session that's on our website. But for now, I'll turn it back to Felicia. But again, really excited to be here, and I'll pop back in to talk a little more about the info session series in a bit.
Thank you, Isabel. I think it's important that you know that the values behind all of our programming, but especially for first year students, is that we want them to have support and community and care and kindness, because when they access resources, we want them to feel like that was a positive interaction and a successful activity so that they'll ask for help and work with us again. So we're always trying to make sure that the students feel connected, not just to each other, because that's very important, but also to all of us, so that when things are not going right, they have a team around them. So we will make sure that Isabel's connected to them and I'm connected to you, but we will also make sure that they're connected to the rest of the community. So let me keep going through the first year and give you a little sense of how we think about the first year. I think of it as a 5-term model. This is the first term. We're getting the student transitioned and prepared to arrive. Then we have the fall, which is an important social integration time. We're spending a lot of energy making sure that they have friends, community, support, that they know the people around them, that they have real mentorship. I just read an article from my a peer institution that said, as soon as you get to school, you should find a mentor or an upper class student that can support you. We don't ask first year students to find them, we provide them. because we know that students need that, and the academic growth and the challenges that they'll face and the core curriculum are real, and we want upper class students to support your first year student throughout. We're mindful of all of the issues of well-being, especially in the fall term, because our students do tend to come here and for the first time need to manage their own nutrition and their own sleep and their own schedule. And that takes some skill building, truthfully. But more than anything, this is college, and we want them to learn, but we also want them to have fun and get ready for their sophomore year. So in the 5 terms, those first 2 academic terms after the summer transition are really about academic transition too. They're going to be on pass fail, and we're going to be creating communities that support them and their academic growth. The second term, they'll be looking at how to prepare for the summer and what they'll be doing during the summer. The third term is their first real chance to be on grades and show that they can succeed in this environment. And then, of course, in the summer, we hope that they'll be applying their skills. They've learned a lot over the year, and we want them to either be having a surf or doing an internship or whatever else that interests them. There's lots of opportunities for students in the summer. Some like to lifeguard and some like to travel, but many will do research or we'll do an internship, and we want to help facilitate that. So that's kind of the 5-year model. We're in year 1. We'll walk you through those in person in our Zooms each term. So we'll come back to this model. So this is our summer term. This is what's happening. First of all, in the bigger context, we want you to know that there's a lot happening at Caltech. We are saying goodbye and hi, really. Goodbye to our current president, Rosenbaum, who's served here for over a decade, who's been phenomenal to our community and has led us through so many challenges, the least of which were COVID and the Los Angeles fires. So he will be moving on. He'll remain on the faculty here at Caltech and continue in the physics department. And we will be welcoming President Ray J. That is his nickname. I did not give that to him. He is an incredible leader. He comes to us from Johns Hopkins, and he arrives next Wednesday. So we're very much in our own administrative and institutional transition. So there's a lot of excitement happening. For your student, this is a summer term of all kinds of administrative work, right? There's not only are they getting to know their class through Discord, and they will get to know our students through our FCC program. We'll talk about those, but they're also doing a lot of administrative work. We talked about the handbook. They'll be getting communications from us. They should be checking those. We know that it's hard to keep track of them, so we have a checklist. The checklist is available for you to look at. We have our summer Zoom session, and we'll walk you through what those sessions look like to support your student in understanding any of the issues that they need to navigate this summer. There are summer assessments. That's only 2 years old for us. Students take summer assessments to help the institution and the faculty know what it is that we need to concentrate on in the fall. We really have a very tailored curriculum, and we want to make sure that we understand what students are bringing to us in terms of skills. So we do have our students take summer assessments. They will begin those right away and submit those. Most of them are done over the summer. And then, of course, there's forms, health forms, all kinds of forms and surveys. A recent survey that was sent to your student asked questions about their living preferences so that we can match them with a residential community when they arrive that meets their needs. So students will be here for a temporary assignment, and we want that to be a successful assignment because it's their really first chance to attach to their peers when they're here. So we ask them to tell us questions about how much socializing they enjoy, what kind of noise level they like, what their living habits are, so that we can make sure that that's a nice connection. And that is managed the summer in advance of arrival. When we talk about arrival, I want to be clear that there are a range of dates. Not everybody arrives at the same time. So we'll talk about what that looks like because their arrival looks different for different students. The official launch to the fall and the official start to orientation is September 9th. And that's also when we have our family orientation. And that's when everything begins for everyone in the class. Everybody will be here at that time and we will get started, but appreciating that fall arrivals look different for people. So let me walk you through what those arrivals well, first let me give Isabel the chance to review the summer info session, because see, this is going to be important for your student. But if these topics are relevant for you, please feel free to watch or join.
Yes. So over the next 3 months, we invite your students to join us for our weekly summer info sessions. They're all held over Zoom. And these sessions are one of the many ways that we begin building community before your students even set foot on campus. And we hope that your students will take advantage of this opportunity to get familiar with Caltech and connect with folks who will support them throughout their journey. So we've invited a wide range of campus partners, including academic support offices such as the undergraduate dean's office. The Hickson Writing Center is a very helpful resource that our students take advantage of, as well as student support offices such as financial aid and our bursar's office. That is actually our next session happening tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So we encourage students to attend live whenever possible. In the event that they're not able to attend the sessions when they're happening, that's also okay. The sessions are all recorded. They will all be on our website right after the session is over. And so you're welcome to review the recordings as well. So yeah, we have a robust calendar of events. These are catered to our students. They are the target audience, but families are more than welcome to attend and tune in as well. In fact, last week we had many families join in on our first info session. So feel free to remind your students about the sessions that are upcoming, and hopefully we get to see some of you there throughout the summer as well.
I had a chance to join the first Zoom session, and it was so great to see members of the class there for the first time for us since they committed, and we're off to a really good start, and they're going to be a great group. So let's move forward with our arrival dates. This is what I was talking about earlier, that we have different arrival dates for different groups. And for FSRI students, that's a summer program. Those students have met and will be connected online first, but they will arrive on August 9th. Our athletes all arrive on August 19th. Integrated core students, that integrated core is a specific academic program that students apply for and are accepted to. That program arrives on September 13th, the week before orientation. They quickly go off on a field trip the following day, but they are here and move into their temporary space on the 13th. And then, of course, international students arrive early for international orientation. That's one of the Institute's strongest programs, and they will be here the 17th. And then we all get started on the 19th. So we do stagger through the arrivals, and that's okay, because let me walk you through a little bit about some of the fundamental issues around how we welcome people. The truth is that everybody that comes to Caltech should be welcomed and supported whatever their arrival date is. So while, yes, we have a big launch on September 19th, that in no way diminishes the warm welcome that your student will get when they arrive, whatever date that is. For all students, they will be welcomed by the sponsoring or supportive office that's hosting them early. So athletics, or the Caltech Center for Inclusion and Diversity, or the dean's office for the integrated core. Every office will be here to support you. You will also be welcomed when you arrive in September for orientation by our FCCs. These are students that have been interviewed and selected by Isabel and Sabrina. They are here to be really the bridge and the welcome and the first face that you see on the 19th. They will help you move in, and they are really some of Caltech's finest leaders. So we encourage students to be part of this community. And really, one of the things that I think is fantastic is when our first year students become FCCs the following year, because they know how important that arrival experience is. When students arrive, all of the programming is about helping them feel connected. We don't want students to ever feel like they're doing this alone. It's a community that cares, and we take care of each other. That's one of our informal mottos. And we will design activities to make sure that that happens for your student when they get here. Community building is really the superpower of our undergraduate experience between the houses and the activities and the different offices. Your student will be well connected and welcomed when they get here. One of the really important programs that happens after orientation launches, this is a tradition at Caltech, and it is called rotation. During rotation, students will have dinner or lunch or attend different activities or events at the undergraduate houses and at Bechtel. Those range from events with food to ice blocking to capture the flag. There's lots of things happening, and students really love this time. It is a very special week for the students, and it helps them find their permanent housing. And it's really one of the programs that students say during their first year they remember and they love the most. So that's a time where the whole student body is connected. All of the upper class students are back to host rotation for our first years. And it is a real celebration on campus. Of course, it's a lot happening, and students only need to participate at the level that's comfortable for them. But most students say that they really enjoy it and they attend as much as they can. So I don't want you to be concerned that when we talk about arrival or welcome, that really is isolated to a September arrival. That will be across all arrivals. All right, let me go to our next slide and talk about what I have heard as common concerns for parents. Let's hit the stuff that I think is on your minds. What to expect on September 19th. Most parents say, I don't know what it's going to look like, and I don't know where to go or what to do. We will make that easy for you. You will, if you arrive by car, we'll have free parking. If you arrive by Uber, we'll have signs about where you go. You will know where to check in, and we will have people in shirts designated to show you everything you need. So we will make sure that that day really runs smoothly for you. We have another Zoom session in September where I will give you the play-by-play for the entire process, including the goodbye process. But for now, just know that all you need to do is arrive, and we will walk you through and take care of all of it. One of the common concerns for parents is moving their student in and then moving them again. No matter when you arrive, your student will be given a temporary housing assignment. They will move again. If you're coming in September, or when you arrive with your student, whatever date that is, you can help your student move in. After the process of rotation, you do not need to come back and move them again. Some parents do, but we really don't recommend it. This is a process of the house helping a student move into the house. And the students are really good at this. They have cards and they have energy and they help their new residents. It's very exciting for them, and it's part of that process of bonding with their new residential community. So they really don't need a second visit or another visit to move in again. Lots of parents ask, should I fly back or should I return? Really, if your student needs you and asks you, that's something to take into consideration. But the process runs without you, and I promise you it's not something that we advise. So it's one, if you're coming, you really only need to come once. That said, if your child is moving in the summer and you want to come back for family orientation and back for that big launch, we absolutely welcome you. You just don't need to come back after rotation to move them again. There are always conversations about roommates. Roommates will be assigned to the student through the survey that I discussed for that temporary 2-week assignment. It's only 2 weeks. After that, students will find their roommate based on the house or the residential community that they will join. That is different than many institutions. And I know as a parent, there's lots of conversation happening about roommates, and some schools or universities have roommate assignment happening right now, or that it's done. Ours is a little different. We have a temporary assignment, and then we have a permanent assignment, and that permanent assignment is student selection. The first assignment is institute selection, but since it's only 2 weeks, it really never becomes much of an issue. It's always nice to have a new person to get to know when you arrive, and then after the rotation process is over, students meet other students, and then they make their roommate selection at that time. Parents are always concerned. This is one of my concerns, that my student will arrive and not know anyone and be alone. We are not going to let that happen. We have a really organized social structure to make sure they meet a roommate in a residential community and an RA and an FCC group and a rotation group. And all of that is designed to make sure they have the chance to work with a small group and travel in a small group for those early days while they're getting to know people. So if your student is like my student and going to a school where they don't know anybody yet, we will help those friendships form, and we will not let any student be alone and isolated or independent during this time. We will make sure that they're connected. Another question that often comes up is FERPA. That's the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It's called FERPA, and it gives your student privacy to their academic record, which means that I cannot share information with families about their progress or their grades or their performance. So those things are private to the student. They are adults now. Even if they are still 17, they're considered adults in higher education and under FERPA, which is the federal law that protects them. This is really about educational records. If you would like to talk with your student about waiving their FERPA rights, that's between you and the student. This is not about emergencies. This is about academic records. So I want you to be familiar with the idea that the student has privacy around that, and any conversation about their transcript can be between you and the student, but we can't disclose that, which I think is part of the transition to college for students to have some privacy around that. But that's something that you'll want to be familiar with, FERPA. What to do if you're concerned this summer or during the year. If you're concerned, reach out. Feel free to email me. If you're concerned during the year, we have a care, a form that you can fill out to help us understand what you're concerned about and have us check in with your student in a way that's appropriate to the situation. You're always welcome to fill those out. There's a question that says, can we tell the student that there was a referral or not? And you're absolutely welcome to pick anonymous or say, no, we want to keep privacy. But if you're concerned, we want to hear about that and we want you to tell us. And the care referral form is one way to do that so that we can check in on your student and make sure. At the end of the day, common topics or concerns for parents is really important. That's why we have a family engagement office. So this is the summer of Toy Story 5. Our students all grew up with Toy Story. So I had to borrow from the tagline and say, if you're worried about something or if we can do something to be helpful, you have a friend in me. So feel free to reach out. So let me turn over the program. Well, let me go to the next slide and just tell you that one of my favorite experiences is getting to know students and working with the families when they arrive. And so we have Shannon Kelly here to join us. She is the parent of one of our rising juniors. We met at orientation, and I'm pretty sure that my program is about supporting her as a parent, but I have to be honest that more often she is supporting me as a parent, and I've turned to her for so much advice, and she's an incredible resource. So I wanted to invite her here today to give you a sense from a parent lens, not just my lens as a parent, but a parent of Caltech student. I wanted to give her the chance to share with you her thoughts and experiences. And any tips, Shannon, please, any tips too.
Thank you. Thank you. So I apologize. I was late getting on because the time difference, and I know my time difference is minimal compared to many of you out on the East Coast. Yeah. So it's just midday here. But starting with what Felicia said, trust the process. I know that right now, I'm sure many of you are saying, as my husband said out loud or in the chat on this call 2 years ago, rotation sounds utterly crazy. What are you doing to these children? Trust the process. It works. They enjoy it. They are not, walking across campus with all of their belongings stuffed in garbage bags. That's not happening. I will tell you that my daughter found it easiest to bring one suitcase where it had kind of what she needed for those 2 weeks and not unpack everything. But that was her choice. When we talk about community building, I have never seen, and I went to a very small liberal arts college myself many years ago. The community building that occurs at Caltech is it's comparable to nothing else out there. When they go into these different houses, they may very well say during rotation, oh, this house definitely doesn't suit me. That doesn't mean the same people in that house that you think, yeah, I don't want to have dinner or game night with them every night, won't also be the ones to say, oh, do you need to go to Target? I have a car, or my roommate has a car. When they do, they'll shoot the cannon when they get their housing assignments. And then the houses did, for my daughter at least, did a social. And it was the freshmen who had been chosen for that house hanging out with some of the upperclassmen, and the upperclassmen kind of hang back and they chose their roommates. And it sounded so simplistic. And yet for my child, it worked out beautifully. And then those upperclassmen said, all right, come Sunday, we're taking you to Target. It's right down the hill. It's not very far away. So anything that you forget, Amazon can get stuff there, and Target's really close as well. Okay, here's where I'll try not to cry. Your children will come home that first break. See, I'm going to cry. The very best version of themselves. The growth that you will see in them from when you leave them to when they first come home, whether that's a 3-day weekend or that first December break, or it may be longer. But their growth is outstanding. When we talk about how to encourage them to get involved. There are so many opportunities, and that's the beauty of Caltech. So my daughter, when she was home for 6 days, mind you, because she opted to go back to campus to do a summer undergraduate research fellowship studying supermassive black holes. But she was home for 6 days, and she went to talk with her old science research class at her high school. And they were asking her, well, how about the opportunity to do research in college? Or can you get into the classes you want? Or can you work with professors? And she said to them, my experience is really quite unique because at Caltech, you just have to ask. And it's really been true. There's not been a single thing that she has desired to do that she's not been given the opportunity to. And I will say she had tried out, there was a theater performance. She wanted to be it was kind of a hobo in the background of the scene who's playing the violin. She didn't get that part, which was fine. But they offered her like, hey, but we have these other things. Would you like to get involved? That's Caltech. So as I say, the opportunities are there, as is the help. So I would encourage you to encourage your children to self-advocate. I know my daughter's had to do it a few times, and it was really quite easy. She needed an extension on assignments. We had a death in the family. We had to get her home to the opposite coast quickly, and she was able to secure those extensions. She got mono this year, following 2 quick trips to the hospital. And it was due to a medical condition she had back in high school. But in any event, public safety took her to the hospital. They said it was faster than the ambulance. It was. The health services office was fantastic. The help is there. And as Felicia mentioned, you do have a friend in her. So when you ask a question, even if it's, hey, could you just tell me, because I'm not sure if Nora knows who she should go to for this, but who would be the person my student would contact for XYZ? You will always get an answer. I know our year, the class of 2028, we have a parents WhatsApp chat that people find helpful, particularly if they're looking at carpool to get to an airport or on a break or random here, there, and everywhere. Lastly, my last comment is on the community building. Nothing could be more true. If you look at your admissions letter, you'll see it, or your child's admissions letter. The community that is promised in that letter is reality on campus. Certainly, Felicia has my permission. You can always contact me. Phone number, email, whatever works. I'm happy to help. My daughter's been very, very happy there. As are her group of friends. She's made amazing friends. don't be surprised when your kids say, yeah, so on break, I think instead of coming home, could I go visit so and so in Bali instead? That's Caltech. And, it's up to you to decide what works for your family. But congratulations, welcome. It's an amazing ride. Yeah, can't wait to have you experience what we did our first trip to campus. Oh, fine. The family weekend, if you're able to go, it was fantastic. It's only offered for freshmen, which makes me really sad. But I know Felicia and Isabel and everyone are working diligently to get it for our upperclassmen. But the family weekend really it just eases your mind in so many ways. But that's my spiel. I'll close my mouth now because you all have questions.
Huge thanks to you, Shannon. Just as you can see, it's so great to work with families and to get to know them. And this is the kind of organic friendship that comes from being connected to Caltech, which is that Shannon and I just met at Move-In, I think, and then at Family Weekend, and we've been connected ever since, which is the same of which I hope for all of you. So let me get to some questions. I think that there's a lot happening in the chat. Well, here's some ways that you can stay connected. Let me outline this for you. Of course, the Caltech Weekly, I said that you're already signed up for. Eye on Caltech is a newsletter that comes out weekly about what's happening at Caltech. These are not necessarily student-specific communications, but they're about the entire community. If your student's an athlete, it's always nice to be connected to the athletic, recreation, and physical education website. They have updates all the time. Isabel does a monthly newsletter for first-year students. You're welcome to read it. She highlights a student and she talks about what's happening. And then, of course, we'll be sending you communication. So we want you to be connected. We want you to feel like that this is a really meaningful relationship and that you're part of the community in a really important way, because that's really what our work is to work together. A lot of questions in the chat. So and I know we're running out of time. Let me ask Sabrina if she doesn't mind just feeding me some of the thematic questions, and then I can kind of answer them collectively. And then if I didn't get a chance to answer your question, I'll put my email right here in the chat, and I'm sitting right here and happy to respond. So Sabrina, what can I do?
Isabel has answered some of the questions in chat, but one question so far is just asking for a little bit more specifics, like what should we bring clothes, computer, dinnerware on September 19th or in 2 weeks after rotation?
I think this is everything you read from Caltech and every person you talk to at Caltech has a different opinion and a different approach to this. So I will tell you what I would recommend. I will let you and your student talk about what they think matches depending on where they're coming from, how far it is, what their style is, how much stuff they have. My opinion is come with everything when you arrive. Everything. Whether you unpack it or not is entirely up to you, but I would bring everything. I do not think you need to leave in 2 weeks and go get other things. That is, if you're from Pasadena, that may look different for you. But I would suggest you bring everything. And I also, as a parent, I get asked all the time, what are you letting your student take? There's not that much space. You know what? Let them bring whatever they want. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. But guess what? This is a really big experience. And if they want to bring the headboard, bring the headboard. That was a big conversation on a thread. If they want to bring something that's important to them, that's okay, right? I think that this is a big transition. Bring the things that are important to you. When you move in, many students are strategic, much like what Shannon said that her daughter did, is some students only unpack or have a bag dedicated for the first 2 weeks. So they're only accessing some of their things for 2 weeks. Other students are like, I'm going to totally unpack and I'm going to set up one room and I'm going to deconstruct and set up another room. That's great too. We support all of it. But for some students, when they bring everything, they're like, I have a suitcase for 2 weeks. I'm going to live out of that and keep that ready, not unpack everything so it's easier to move. Great. If you're one of those people that's organized, that absolutely works. It's probably half of the students do it that way. The other half absolutely start with that plan and then they unpack everything and then they repack everything and then the house helps them move and it always works out. Whatever approach you take, it always works out. But I do want to emphasize that the second move, you are not necessarily included in that process. If you come and want to support that process, that's fine, but that's not really how it's designed. The houses will help make sure your student gets to where they need to be. And if your student needs more than student help, we will arrange that. I want to make sure that we say that. Okay.
One of the other questions that
Mhm.
I in the chat, this may be a Caltech dining question, but they ask, is there a meal plan for students arriving in August, or is it a la carte purchases?
No, when your student arrives, your student will be either on the orientation food plan or on the institute food plan. So we will provide meals and snacks. They will be well fed. There's lots of options, and that's part of coming to the community.
In that same vein regarding food, another parent asks, can the students do cooking in their accommodation in the shared kitchen?
They can. There are community kitchens in each residential community, both a temporary and then, of course, when it's permanent, they can. I would say that it's absolutely invited, and some students do it more than others. Here's a couple caveats to that. The first is that mealtime in many of the houses is really big community building. So I would not substitute the food for the community experience of having dinner together. We are one of the last remaining campuses where some of the houses still have served weighted meals and they all eat together. That's really special. I would not want a student to miss the community experience of being at those dinners. But if you would like to make more food, you'll see in the morning when you go through the residence halls that people have been up making burritos or pasta in the middle of the night. We do have community kitchens for that. Some kitchens are nicer and bigger than others. The Bechtel kitchen is bigger than any kitchen I've ever seen on a college campus, and some are smaller than I've ever seen in a college apartment. The range is there, the opportunity is there, and the only warning I have for students when they ask me about cooking is I say the fire alarms will go off. But that's also part of the college experience, and we're used to that. So they're getting good at cooking. And in the meantime, sometimes we have the popcorn definitely burns quite a bit, but that's okay. We can turn off the fire alarm, and we all learn from these things. So yes, there is a community option for having your student do some of the cooking. They are all on a meal plan. So I would hate to see a student have to do all their own cooking all the time, but of course there is that option.
One of the other questions that I see in chat says, if the student needs an extension for advanced placement tests, can they request that? I know that's outside of.
That is a little outside of my expertise in terms of the academic advising. I will put the chat, the first year dean. You do have a first year dean. The students will meet the first year dean in one of their Zoom sessions. She is in the dean's office dedicated to first year support. That would be a great question for her. I would hate to get ahead of her expertise and give advice here when I know she has this is really her area of concentration. Her name is Dean Wyman, and she would be a great resource. We'll put her email in the chat, and any of you can, or your students can email her with academic advising questions.
Okay. And then one of the other questions we see is parents can leave on September 20th, right? So
parents are invited to the campus on September 19th. They are not invited to undergraduate orientation after we say goodbye at the class picture. At the beginning of family orientation, that is the end of the family student engagement, and we move into just family engagement. When you depart is entirely up to you. We'll talk about the goodbye and the schedule at our next session, but there is a goodbye and a designated time when the groups separate and the students go with Isabel and the families come with me, and we move into our individual orientation programs. But your departure is entirely up to you.
And then one of our next questions is asking, can parents take a tour to all the residential options on September 19th with their students?
That is not part of the programming on that day because we have people living in those communities. So you will be invited to go move your student into the community where they've been assigned. I think if you have a particular question about all of the communities, certainly come find me on that day and let's talk.
One of these questions seems to be about accommodations, specifically having a mini fridge in the room for medicine.
You can have a fridge in your room, all students can, and accommodations are handled by our accessibility for student services office. We will have a Zoom with that team coming up this summer, or you can reach out to them directly. They're an incredible office and they're very supportive of our students, but lots of students have fridges for medicine and snacks and all kinds of things. And so that's absolutely welcome.
I know we only have a few minutes left, and
Yeah, let's
one of
take one more
these-
question and then I'll make sure that my email's in the chat so that I can be helpful.
Okay, let me see which one might be more all-encompassing. This one is related to residential. Are the roommates co-ed or same gender? Will the students have the choice to choose their roommate?
We have a policy for first-year students that they are, and I will send that out to the students and to families, that they are assigned by like gender and that is part of our community expectation. And yet students can work with us if there's a special situation that they want to navigate. And I want to be sensitive to a special situation. Please have them reach out to me. But yes, we have a policy for that for first-year students. I saw a question, just to add one additional thing before I say goodbye, that I saw a question in there about the WhatsApp. I know Shannon mentioned it. Lots of classes have a parent communication. We leave that to parents to build on their own. That's something that happens organically. If there's a parent that wants to reach out to me and volunteer to help set that up, feel free. I will walk you through what I've observed in the past. I do all of my communications through a Caltech process and not through WhatsApp, but I know a lot of parents really benefit from that and sharing kind of experiences and tips. So we'll guide you on how your class can do that too. It's also something that I think last year's class did, maybe they did, or they expanded during the parent reception when we're all getting to know each other and we have kind of a happy hour style event. Parents were putting that together. They were also planning what they were going to do for family weekend and who was going to organize dinner reservations and all kinds of stuff. So we'll engage in all of that at our next Zoom and of course in person on the 19th. If you're not here on the 19th, we won't leave you out. We'll make sure that you're connected too. It looks like somebody's already even taken the lead. Let me say that it is 11:57 and we have the first of our 4 Zooms behind us. That it is an absolute pleasure.
I do.
Thank you so much for joining, for connecting, for trusting us with your student. And I am so excited to meet all of you in person when it works for you. In the meantime, if there's anything I can do to be supportive, please feel free to reach out. Again, I'm Felicia and I'm here for you. So thank you, everyone. And thanks to Isabel, Lupe, and Sabrina, and Shannon, of course, for the warmth and the connection that you bring to this program. So thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your day.